American air superiority as we know it today was non existent before World War II. Hello, my name is Brendan Ferris. I'm an instrument rated pilot, as well as a Black Hawk mechanic and a aviation management major at Bridgewater State University. Today, I will be giving a speech on World War II aircraft from the United States. In this speech, we will be talking about a 5 to 6 year period in which the Americans were way behind in terms of aircraft to when they joined the war and had to catch up with innovations, as well as at the end of the war where they started to get ahead of other countries. Starting with before the United States joined the war, American aviation was divided into three major groups. According to historyonthenet.com, July 21st, 2021, the United States Army Air Corps, the first group, was established July 2nd, 1926. The United States Navy established October 13th, 1775, which was the second group. And then finally, the United States Marine Corps, which was established November 10th, 1775. The Army Air Corps, or as we know it today as the United States Air Force, mainly flew in the European theater. The Navy and the Marine Corps mainly flew in the Pacific theater. According to the Concise Guide to American Aircraft of World War II by David Munday, the aircraft used before the United States entered the war included the DC-2, which was a cargo plane, the F-6C Hawk, which was used as a fighter-type aircraft, the B-10, which was used as a bomber, as well as the PBY Catalina and the O3U-3 Corsair, which were used as carrier-based aircraft. All of these aircraft were either biplanes or so far behind the times that they were used in World War I. After joining the war and having to catch up with their enemy countries as well as their allied countries, the US had several different companies on the job to get that done. According to the Warburg Factory by John M. Fredrickson, companies like North American Aviation, Vought Aviation, and Douglas Aviation were part of that crew. North American created the famed P-51 fighter aircraft. As you can see here, this is an example of the P-51, which of course was, as we said, is a fighter aircraft as well as a low bombing and attack aircraft. Vought created the F-4U Phantom, which was a carrier-based fighter aircraft, along with other aircraft. Douglas created aircraft like the SBD Dauntless, which was a dive bomber used in the Pacific as well as a low-altitude bomber. Larger bombers like the B-17 Flying Fortress created by Boeing were allowed for the United States to carry large amount of bombs in order to effectively destroy their targets in long distance. These American companies effectively went from being 25 years behind in aviation to catching up and getting past a lot of other countries. These aircraft were integral in winning the war due to their innovation, but a lot of why the Americans and the Allies won was due to the ability to create aircraft in large quantities. According to the airspace.mag.com, May 2007, the United States were able to mass produce in the course of about 6 years 300,000 aircraft. This had a lot to do with America being the country that it was. In terms of wealth, America was almost at the top at the time. The fact of the matter is that Germany, Japan, and Italy could not catch up in terms of money power. Attributing to this was the ability and willingness of American citizens to buy bonds and pay towards the war in order to win the war. While enemy nations relied off of a handful of companies, the United States had dozens of companies in order to create aircraft. Their factories needed people in order to build the aircraft, and the US did not have a lack of people willing and ready to be able to work in these factories and build these aircraft. The Riveter inspired a large amount of women and men who weren't fighting on the front lines to be in these factories. As the war came to a close, the innovation continued as Germany started to move into the jet phase of aircraft. The Americans moved forward as well. According to the American Fighter by Peter Bowers, the first American jet fighter was the P-80 Shooting Star. It was Americans' first entry into the jet aircraft world. These aircraft were faster and more maneuverable than their prop-driven aircraft, as innovative as they were at the end of World War II. This also included the F-86 Sabre, which was at the time one of the most advanced aircraft in the world. And thus these events catapulted the United States into the premier military aviation group as we know it today. In conclusion, today we have looked at the history of aviation during World War II with the breakdown of American aviation groups and their obsolete aircraft, all the way into the start of the war and their innovations, companies, and different types of aircraft created, and finally, the reasons behind the U.S.'s ability to produce these aircraft and the new types of aircraft that came out of it. I would like to thank you today for listening to my speech. Thank you and have a great day.